Let's now review service contracts from the operational perspective. A service contract has 8 fast steps. You will find the general fast step, the lines fast step, the invoicing fast step, the shipping fast step, service fast step, an invoice details fast step, a price update fast step, and finally a details fast step. So let's open up a service contract from the menu. Let's take this one in edit. And then let's go to the first fast step, which is called the general fast step. You see, very typical, of course, a document number, the contract number. Remember also we have set the parameters for that in the general settings of service management. You will find information about for which customers is this contract, very typical information. Then already very specific one for the service contracts. Here you can make the link with the contract group code. Remember, contract groups are actually groups of related service contracts that you want to bring together for statistical or reporting reasons. And then very important on the general fast step are 2 parameters or 2 fields that express very important values. It's the status of the service contract, and it is the change status of the service contract. Now, the service status, service contract status can be blank, signed, or cancelled. Now, actually, blank means that you don't have a contract. Blank is the typical status of a contract quote. So if we later on review service contract quotes, then there will be a blank status. Signed is basically the status that you really need for a service contract. That means that it is approved by your customer, and only then you have a real contract. Only then you will have a contract which is really operational in your Dynamics NAV solution. You get a signed status automatically when you convert a quote to an order, or manually by using the function to sign your contract. So later on, if you're going to make a new contract and you go to actions, then you see here you can sign a contract. And what does it mean? Signing a contract means that you give it the signed status so that it becomes operational. Another field here which is important is the change status. You see here it is locked, but also again above here you can see you can lock a contract. You can also open a contract. So in this case it is locked. If I click on open, then you see here it is open. I can then lock it again and then it becomes locked. Now, why would we do that? Well, first of all, you need to open a contract to change the information, to change the settings for that specific contract. So if you want to change something, you cannot do it as long as it is locked. You can only change information here in that contract when you open that contract. If you later on then want that your new changes, your new information will have really operational impact, then you have to lock your contract. So only when your contract is locked, the changes that you have made will have an impact on the operations, on the invoicing, on the administration of your service contract in general. So now that we have reviewed the general fast step, let's have a look at the lines fast step. The lines fast step is the place where you select your service items that you want to be part of this contract. Of course, you will only find the service items here, or you can only select from the list of service items that are linked to the same customer that you have made the customer for this contract. Then the first information that you see here, this is all information that is directly inherited from the service item itself. And then you see response time hours. Now this is 8 and 24. Now if you check where is the 8 and 24 coming from, well, this comes in this example also from the service item itself, because if you would look up the response time hours here, they are 8 for this one and 24 for the second service item. So again, let me do the same check here. And here you see 24 for this one. But also remember, for a service contract, you can also specify response times. And that's done on another fast step. Let's scroll down a little bit on the shipping fast step. Now here we would be able to add another response time hours, and that would be then made applicable on these service items. But watch out, you can only do that for as far as your change status is open. So you will have to open up your change status. Then you need to scroll down, and here you can then fill in, for instance, 5. And if he will ask you then, some of the contract lines have a longer response time than the response time hours field on the service contract header. Do you want to update them? Yes. And let's go up again, and now you see that the response time has been changed, altered to 5. If we want this to have effect on your contract for your service, and the orders coming out of this contract, then you need to lock your contract. So once you have clicked on lock, you will see that again your change status is now changed to locked, and as of this moment the change you made has an impact on the operational side of this contract. Besides response time hours, you also see line cost and line value. Now let's have a look, where is this coming from? Well, if you remember, when you go to the service item, in this case service item number 7, let's have a look here on the service item card, and let's go to the contract value. So here you see the default contract value that was calculated based on the unit price is here 37, the default contract cost 19. When we look back again, 37 and 19, and the same goes for that second one. So this is based on the calculations and the settings you have done. What we also see here is a service period. You see once a month. Where is this coming from? Well, if we scroll down again a little bit in the service, then you see here service period is 1 month. So that is part of the service information, and because of the service information being configured and specified here on this service contract, you will get that on the lines. Based on this period, a next planned service date is calculated. So depending on when the starting period is of this service contract, well, every month you will get a next planned service date. And I think in this context we also need to review an additional parameter or an additional setting. So let's have again a look up at the service setup. If you open up service setup, in the general fast tab, there is one setting which is called next service calculation method. And you see here you have two options. It's either planned or actual. Now planned means if we say your service is once a month, and the starting date of your service contract is today, then the next calculated service date for your service item will be today plus 1 month, and then the next one will be 1 month later, and then a month later, and so on. And that is a planned schedule. But you can also say, well, we're going to make it an actual schedule. And what is the difference with a planned schedule is that then you take in consideration not just the starting date of your service contract and then the service period, but you take in consideration the date of the service maintenance, the repair activity itself. So maybe it was planned for a specific date, but you go in with your service item earlier. It's that specific date then plus 1 month that will be making up the new service date. So when we go back to our service contract again, so let me open that one again and have a look at the service lines. So these dates here on the right hand side, so next planned service date, that is calculated based on this period here, and then of course your parameter in the general setting. So let's search for service setup, and here in service setup we're going to check the first tab, which is a general fast tab. Here you can see the parameter which is called next service calculation method, and you do have two options here, planned or actual. And the question is to calculate your next service for a specific service item. Should we take in consideration a planned schedule or an actual schedule? Remember that the service period was, for instance, in the example we just saw, 1 month. So do we really calculate each month by month, starting from the starting date of the service item in the contract, and then 1 month, and then a month later, and then a month later? Or do we take in consideration not the starting month, the starting date of the contract, and then each time 1 month further, but do we take in consideration the actual service date and then add 1 month later? And that is what is meant here with next service calculation method. And so the date here, the next planned service date in this case, is based on a planned schedule, and it does not take in consideration the real service date of your service item. So this is the starting date, this one here, the starting date for this service item, and then this is the first planned service maintenance, and then 1 month later will be the next, and 1 month later will be the next, and so on. You only get one date here, so it's not for a full year, it's only the next planned service date which is listed here. That is, I think, for the second tab most important. Let's now move to the other tabs. So let's have a look at some other fast tabs. The first one is the shipping fast tab. Well, there is nothing specific to mention here. It's just the shipping code and the shipping address of a specific customer. So that also means where that the customer is really located and the service items are positioned. Then you see here service, and of course this is very specific for service. So you can link a service zone code with a specific service contract. So you can say this contract is for a specific regional geographical zone, and that will have an impact primarily for planning reasons, which is the technician that we can plan on it. Then you see the service period, we already discussed that. The first service date is calculated, and that of course depends on the starting date for this contract. The response time hours, we talked about that as well. And then you also can still add a service order type. And what is a service order type? So you see you can group your orders in related groups actually. And remember also, we've discussed this with service orders. You can make as many as you want here. So that will result in some additional information you will have for statisticals and reporting reasons. Now we will skip the two next ones because we will talk about these ones in a different module. And then we have the last fast tab for now, and that is the details fast tab. And you see your expiration date, so you can put an expiration date on your contract. You can also fill in a cancellation reason, and you can add a max labor unit price. So that means actually what is the maximum labor unit price that can be charged if you repair a service item, which is probably out of warranty and that needs labor work. What is the maximum unit price that you can charge for that? For service contracts, you can also specify specific service hours. So remember that in the general setup we have seen that you can do that for service in general. You can specify which are the service hours, the hours on which we are going to execute service. But in service contracts, you can do that also contract by contract. So let's have a look how this works. So here you can click on service hours. You can then start, you start with a blank sheet. You can then start with actions and then copy the default service hours. So this is going to copy not from the base calendar, but from the service calendar. So you say we work from Monday from 8 to 5, and then you can say, well, no, I'm going to change that. We're not going to work at start at 8, but we're going to start working at 7, and we're going to work, for instance, until 23. And by doing so, you can adjust the service hours for in each contract. So that's also part of your SLA, is the service hours that you're going to work. You can also specify service discounts for each service contract. And that means discounts on the usage of spare parts and labor for the repair. How can you specify that? You can click on service discounts, and here you can see an example. For instance, if for repair for this specific service contract or an item in this service contract, if you use resources that belong to the resource group, in this case technicians, you get 50% discount. If you are going to use or you're going to consume costs like the starting administrative cost or some traveling costs, you can also install discounts that are only applicable for service which is executed on service items, on these two, in this service contract.